Do you struggle with writing melodies for your songs? Maybe you don't even know where to start? Well, guess what, my friend? You are in the right place because today I'm gonna give you an absolutely bulletproof method for writing melodies for your songs, even if you've never done it before. After releasing last week's video about how I write choir parts and harmonies, I realized that I haven't actually really done a video dedicated to how to write melody lines. So I figured that since I kind of think about them actually very similarly and I base it on the same core concept, I figured now's a great time. I may or may not have also been looking for an excuse to use the Trey voice model that I stumbled across while making that video. Whoa! So today we're going to be using Ace Studio once again to demonstrate all of these concepts. And in order to make it run screaming fast, I've got the MSI Stealth A16 AI Plus laptop. More on that later. Just like in the last video, we're gonna be using this chord tones concept. If you haven't seen that video yet, it's very simple. Chord tones are literally just the notes that exist in any given chord, right? For example, in A major, we have A, C sharp, and E. That's it. But today I'm gonna lay it out for you visually. So this right here is the piano roll, right? The notes go from low to high this way. And then here we've got the three notes of our A major chord. A, C sharp, E. Boom. Right now you're screaming at the screen. You're saying, Trey, I just saw you strum 6 strings in your A major chord. How could there only be 3 notes? Very simple. This is only 3 notes repeated across the fretboard. We got A, E, A, C sharp, E, A. Same 3 notes. Because these 3 notes exist in every octave, all the way up and down until we can't hear them anymore in either direction. I want to talk a little bit about today's sponsor and this amazing laptop from MSI. Without this incredibly fast laptop generating these vocal lines every time I change something super fast, this would have been excruciating. But luckily, thanks to its onboard AMD Ryzen AI 9 365 processor, 32 gigs of RAM for ultra-fast processing, we were flying. It's also got this very crispy 16-inch 240Hz display for that buttery smooth feel, and it even has built-in Copilot AI assistance. It's rocking an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 for ultra-powerful graphics. You can find out more about this computer at the link in the description. Thank you so much to MSI for sending this over and sponsoring today's video. So in the same exact way that we can take these 3 notes, A, C sharp, and E, and play them all the way up and down the fretboard, we can take them here on the piano roll and copy paste them all the way up and down. And all of this is still an A major chord. Now here is our entire 4-bar chord progression. Now, if we do the same thing with all of these chords, copy them up and down the piano roll, we're gonna see all of the chord tones in every direction. So this is how we're gonna visualize how we're going to write our melody. These chord tones are bulletproof. If the chord that's happening is an A, a C sharp, or an E note will always work. This is gonna be so easy, it's almost stupid. All we're gonna do to start it off is to pick a chord tone for the first chord. That's it. You've been looking for a place to start. Here it is. So we'll try it on C sharp. See how that sounds. Trey's gonna sing it for us. It sounds perfectly nice. C sharp is the 3rd. We've got the root, which is A. C sharp is the 3rd. E is the 5th. Let's take it down to A to see how that sounds. Also perfectly pleasant. Take it down to E, which is the 5th. So those all sound perfectly fine, right? None of them sounds weird or wonky or wrong. Let's try and find one that does not sound right. Let's put them on an A sharp and hear how that sounds. All kinds of bad. A sharp is not a chord tone. There are plenty of non-chord tones that will sound great. In this case, A sharp, not one of them. So how do you decide which one you're gonna go with? It's very simple. It's a couple of practical things. Number one, Of course, whatever you think sounds the best. That's number one, always, forever, across harmony, melody, rhythm, songwriting, everything, right? Your personal, artistic preference, what you think sounds best. The other one is going to be range, register, possibilities of what your instrument or your voice can do. And the other thing is just the expressiveness of it. Does it express the feeling that you're trying to get across? Does it match up with either the lyric that they're singing or the idea that you're trying to get across with the music? Right now he's just singing da, which is not a lyric at all. So I'm not really worried about that. So we're just gonna find the one that I think sounds best with his voice. That one sounds pretty good. To start off, we're just gonna write one melody note per chord, which means that we've written one for A. Now we gotta go to the next chord, which is B minor. The notes of B minor are B, D, F sharp. So our first note was C sharp. D is immediately above it, a half step, and D is the third of B minor. Let's hear how that sounds. Sounds great. We could also go down to B, which is very close to C as well, just a whole step down. Or we could try a large leap and go from C sharp up to F sharp. But for the moment, let's go with the C sharp to D. Next chord is E major. The notes are E, G sharp, and B. The closest one is E. It's of course going to sound fine because it's the root, it's the name of the chord. Roots are very boring melody notes. It makes it feel very completed. It's a great way to end a melody. At this point in the melody, it sounds silly to me, but it certainly doesn't suck. Next closest chord tone is a B, sounds like this. Or we have a G sharp. I actually kind of like that one the best, to be honest. Big old leap of a tritone between those two notes. I'm just going with my instinct. I like that one the best so far. Next chord is an F sharp minor. That gives us F, A, and C sharp. The closest one is just a half step higher. It's an A. Next chord is C sharp minor. It's C sharp, E, and G sharp. Closest one is just going back down to G sharp. A is the closest note, but there is also a C sharp. And because our first little phrase started on a C sharp, then maybe we can have a little motif, a little bit of continuity. We'll try doing the same melody again, as close as we can get it. The next chord is C sharp minor, C sharp, E, G sharp. We do not have a D, so we can't do the same thing exactly. But we can go to E, which is the next note higher from there. Let's listen to everything we got so far. I would love to be able to go back to this G sharp here. That would be really nice continuity. The next chord is E sus4. All that sus4 means is that we've taken the third and bumped it up to a fourth instead, and it gives it what's called a suspended feel. It feels unresolved. And then we're going to, for the next chord, for the E major, you just take that fourth and drop it down to the third, and then it feels resolved. So it has the notes E, A, and B. Of course, none of those is a G sharp, which I was hoping for. But if we want to maintain sort of a similar contour, we can have it go down again, and let's go to a B. B is the fifth. That sounds like this. So the next chord is E major, E, G sharp, B. So we can actually just leave this note on B, and it's gonna work. That sounds good. It's very boring, but none of it makes me go like, ugh! This is the bulletproof part that I was talking about. All we did was have him sing chord tones, all right? We sort of walked our way across this chord progression through chord tones, and it sounds consonant. This is not like a great melody. This is the starting point for how you do write great melodies, is playing with this idea. Check out how fast it is going to generate this take. It's a little bit like a decision tree, right? We could have gone so many different ways. There's all these like alternate universe type of melodies that are out there using this exact same chord progression. To be clear, this isn't how I write melodies anymore, because I've done it so many times at this point that this concept, this idea, is just how I do it intuitively now. And you want to sort of get to the point where you separate yourself out from this sort of technical cut and dry theory way of doing it, because that's not really a good way to write a melody or to write anything. It's just thinking about theory. So what you're going to do is think about it like this for a while as you write your sort of first few melodies. Now we're going to try and turn it into something that someone would actually sing or play. This has no tension in it, no excitement, nothing. Chord tones feel very resolved. Non-chord tones, however, add tension and excitement, which is just as important. This also has zero rhythmic phrasing or flavor of any kind. So I've added a little bit of syncopation, some more flavor. It feels more like a line that you could sing. I also added like a little bit of a walk down in between this D and G sharp because it was a really big leap and it felt a bit awkward to me. Right here we've got a big old whole measure to fill on one chord. It could be anything except what it is right now because it's pretty boring. If what we're writing is a vocal melody, the lyrics are going to largely determine what the rhythm is going to be, because we don't know how many syllables we've got, because every syllable is a new attack. It's a new note. Because of that, before we go any further, I'm actually going to write a few lyrics for him to sing. This is why I think having lyrics is very important, because right here I got a little flash of inspiration. I just fall to the earth. So I wrote these lyrics to fit the phrasing that we've got. They're kind of whatever. Now I'm changing the melody to fit the lyrics. I just fall to the earth. You still gotta try. Oh. Nope, that was half speed. You still gotta try. That is considerably spicier than what we started with. So I am gonna keep the motif going. Da 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 da. I just fall to the earth. You still gotta try, give it all till it hurts. Of course, there are no rules. This isn't some kind of manual, but if you want to do it step by step, identify the chord tones in each of the chords that the melody's going to be over. Pick a couple that work for the register of the instrument, if it's voice or guitar or whatever, and then build yourself a little path through the chord tones, and then spice it up a little bit. It's an integrated process. This is why it's an art and not a hardcore science. If you came in here and you have never written a melody before, I highly recommend that you try it like this, very sort of cut and dry and methodical. And then after you do that a few times, it's gonna start to become very intuitive. Huge thanks to MSI for sponsoring this video with their amazing Stealth A16 AI Plus laptop. You can find the link in the description where you can get your very own and be speedily composing music. Stay squishy, and I'll see you real soon.